I know what you're thinking when you hear Oklahoma. Tornadoes, cowboys, cows roaming the street, and well, grass. But I'm here to show you there is so much more to Oklahoma. We have a bustling nightlife scene, thriving businesses, and much, much more. This is Everything Oklahoma. Hello, friends, and welcome back to Everything Oklahoma, where we talk about, well, everything Oklahoma. Don't forget to subscribe to become part of our Red Dirt family.
Hey friends, so welcome back. Now in today's video, it's going to be the start of a new series I'm doing called Unboxing. It's where we take a look at a town here in the state of Oklahoma and really just dive into it. We're going to focus on one town per video. Now we aren't going to do big cities like Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Lawton. We aren't going to do those. Well, maybe Lawton, but we are going to focus on those smaller towns that don't really seem to get a lot of love. Now we are going to start with Hugo, Oklahoma. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and let's go. All right, guys, so let's get started with the town of Hugo, Oklahoma. Now, Hugo, Oklahoma is a place so special to me. From the time I was about 5 until the time I was maybe 17 or 18, we were in Hugo about twice a month. My grandmother lived here in Oklahoma City with us, but she was born and raised in Hugo. All of my aunts and uncles are still to this day in Hugo, all of my cousins. Let's take a deep dive into this town. Now, Hugo is a city in and also the county seat of Choctaw County, Oklahoma. Now, it is in southeastern Oklahoma, and it's only about 9 miles north of the Texas state line. I remember going down there, especially as a teenager. Me and my cousins would pile in somebody's pickup truck and head to Paris, Texas, which is one of the, should I say, big cities? It's not a big city, guys. It's not at all, but it's one of the larger towns in that area. Now, as of 2020, the population in Hugo is 5,114 people. No word yet whether the pandemic made that population go higher or lower. Now, the town of Hugo was established in 1901, about 6 years before Oklahoma became a state. Now, it was actually set up because of the proximity to the railroads that were there. So did you all know Hugo was that old? I find that just really amazing. Now, in those days though, Hugo had a lot of what they call dancing girls, right? They had some hustlers, they had some gunslingers. So Hugo may not have been the safest place. Now, Hugo was named after Victor Hugo, who was a French novelist and artist and politician kind of during the time that Napoleon was there. And I have tried to find out so many different ways why the heck Hugo is named after this man. He seems like a great guy. I mean, very interesting read if you want to do some research on him. I can't figure it out. I have no idea who named Hugo after Victor Hugo. So since I am a data and stats nerd, I definitely wanted to share some demographics with you. Now, Hugo is the 72nd largest city in the state of Oklahoma. Now, let's talk about one thing. Race really doesn't mean a whole lot to me, honestly. As a matter of fact, I think we would all be better if we could just respect each individual race and kind of move on, you know? But I know some people like to hear about the racial composition of a town. I will share the racial composition of Hugo just because it gives you a little more insight into the town. Now, Hugo is a pretty nice mix as far as Caucasian people. 51% of the population is Caucasian, about 20% is African American, 15%, almost 16% is Native American. From there, it just goes down as far as the percentages of other races, whether it's biracial, Asian, Native Hawaiian, whatever, very small percentages from that point. Now, the median age in Hugo is about 35.7 years old. So let's talk about some financial aspects of Hugo as far as the money in the city and are the people making it. So the poverty rate in Hugo is about 45.3%. So that means 1 out of every 2.2 residents of Hugo lives in some level of poverty. Adding on to that, 2,200 of 5,015 Hugo residents reported income levels below the poverty line in the last year. Now, the poverty rate across the state of Oklahoma is 16.2%, meaning Hugo has a dramatically higher than average percentage of residents below the poverty line when compared to the rest of Oklahoma. All right, but what is the town of Hugo known for? Well, the town of Hugo is called Circus City, USA. Hugo, Oklahoma has a long history of circus culture dating back over 70, 80, 90 years, and approximately 20 circuses through the years have established winter quarters in Hugo, Oklahoma. Now, why Hugo, you may ask? Well, it's because first off, the weather. The weather is good. That's good for the animals. That's good for the people. That's good for whatever you're feeding your animals. Also, keep in mind, during that time, railroads were super important. So to have a town kind of based right around the railroad was great for circus people. You can load your people, your animals, your props, your everything on the railroad and hit the road when the summer and spring seasons came, because a lot of circuses didn't really tour in the winter, so they would all winter in Hugo. Now, one of the first circuses to actually call Hugo home was the Pratt and Miller Circus here. It was actually started Miller Brothers Circus around 1937, and there was a local businessman in Hugo, Vernon Pratt, that made an offer to attract the Millers to the area they were in Kansas. Now, the offer was just a free place to stay, electricity, and water, and that's all it took to get the circus coming down, based in Hugo. And then the circus would provide the town one ring shows every Sunday, just kind of during those years. So it was a trade-off for sure, but it definitely opened the door to Hugo being a very welcoming city for all types of circus folk. Now, the connection between Hugo and the circus goes so deep that actually at the Mount Olivet Cemetery, and if you are familiar with the Hugo area, it's on South 8th Street, and technically the cemetery is not in Hugo, it's in Grant, but a lot of those places, Hugo's, Grant, Antlers, they kind of all run together, so people just call the whole thing Hugo, but it's actually Grant. But anyway, at the Mount Olivet Cemetery, there is actually a spot or a section of the cemetery called Showman's Rest that is actually just for circus performers and, different employees of the circus. Now, you are also going to have some rodeo professionals there as well. It's one of the coolest cemeteries in the country. People come from all over just because it's so unique. And if you take a look at some of these headstones, this is definitely a day trip or maybe an overnight trip, because depending on where you are, Hugo can be a little far since it's almost near Texas, but definitely something to come and see is this cemetery, very unique. So when it comes to Hugo's cost of living, based off areavibes.com, they actually get an A. It's 19% less expensive to live in Hugo than the average of the United States. So that's a good thing, right? But in most other areas, they either got F's or D's. Basically, overall, Hugo gets a D or an F as far as livability. How happy will you be there? Are there amenities for you? How is the educational system? How is crime? Most of those are D's or F's. Let's dive into that. Hugo crime is an F. The total crime is 66% higher in Hugo than in the average of the rest of Oklahoma. Total crime affects 5,000 people per 100,000 people. It's pretty high, guys. That's 124% higher than the U.S. average. You have a 1 in 20 chance of being a victim. However, the victims are not like violent crimes. Usually, a lot of the crime is alcohol related, and then a lot of property crime, things of that nature, theft, all that kind of stuff. Now, as far as employment, Hugo gets an F again. housing. We already talked about the median household income, but we also talked about those really high poverty levels. And you guys, really, it boils down to there aren't a lot of jobs in Hugo right now. Of course, you have like gas station clerk, things like that. A couple of factories in town and in the surrounding areas. I think the Campbell Soup Company is pretty big there. I had a couple of aunts that work there. But as you know, if you kind of move that to the side, you aren't going to have a ton of jobs there unless you are in the agricultural type field. If you're a farmer, if you do something related to that, you may actually find some work. Now, if you are the type of person that you work remotely, you can take your job with you. Hugo may be the perfect spot for you because cost of living is low and you already have your job. Now, as far as housing, Hugo gets an F as well. The home value is 46% lower than in the average of the rest of Oklahoma. Home value actually comes into play if you're looking to sell your home, because what you would get if your home was sitting in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Edmond, Lawton, surrounding areas, it's going to be way lower than what you're going to get if your home is sitting in Hugo. But that's kind of, common sense. That's one of the downside of small town living. All right, so let's talk about some real estate. Now, in the Hugo area, I saw some studio apartments, about $525. So I feel like that is a great deal. Now, keep in mind that is a studio. Now, in the actual town of Hugo, there are going to be not a lot of apartment complexes at all, and absolutely none have websites except one, and it didn't really show the apartment or give a price. I'm always wary about that. What about you? If I can't see it or know how much it is ahead of time, I think I'm gonna pass. Now, when I looked at apartments, basically all the apartments that pop up for Hugo are actually located in Paris, Texas, which, keep in mind, you already know, that's only about 9 minutes away, so it's not bad there. So I'm showing you one apartment right now, basically between around $895 to $1,000 for a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, laid out like a real apartment. A lot of the apartments in Hugo are actually like low income housing type apartments. So some are studios, some are, I don't know, they're like little duplexes or something. So this is actually laid out like a true apartment complex. So you'll be paying pretty much max $1,000. So when I went to Zillow.com and checked out real estate, most expensive thing I saw on there in Hugo, $652,000, but that was actually for 145 acres. So if we want to look at land that actually comes with the house, is this beauty right here, $465,000 for a 4-bed, 4-bath home. Now this comes with 40 acres. Doesn't this just look like a nice little country home? It gives me country vibes for sure. So you have a little media room. I mean, now this has been on Zillow for about 90 days right now, which tells me that either people in the area don't have the funds to purchase this home, and people out of the area that may have the funds may not be interested in this home. But with all the farmers and country people that we have in Oklahoma, I'm sure someone is going to snatch this up. This home actually comes with 2 ponds as well. But the more I looked, like, here is another house, Hugo, Oklahoma, 3-bed, 2-bath, $350,000 for 1,800 square feet. Now, a plus is that it's close to the hospital, but you guys, some of these homes are just pretty pricey in Hugo. Like, these are definitely Oklahoma City prices, in my opinion, even though you will get a lot of land that you won't get in Oklahoma City, but I don't know. However, if you have the money, if you have the capital, this will be good, wholesome country living for you. All right, guys, so let's talk a little bit about education. Now, Hugo itself has the Kiamichi Tech Center. If you're familiar with like a Votech, like Metro Tech or Francis Tuttle, they have that there in town. Now, if you want to go to an actual junior college, you'll have to go to Paris. So you'll have to actually go to a Paris Junior College, about 5,000 people there, about 7,000 a semester, but they do have a 100% acceptance rate. So, you can feel great about yourself because chances are you will be accepted, and then you can work your way up to do something different from there. Now, as far as the school system in Hugo, they aren't rated the best, to be honest with you, but it's pretty much all you have, so you're just going to have to roll with it at this point. So also, as far as livability, Hugo has some grocery stores for you, which I'm actually very impressed with. Where was this? When I was a kid, but there's a Pruitt's Food there. There's a Walmart Supercenter. There's an Aldi's, like whatever your grocery store preference, you're going to have some options there. They also have a Family Dollar, a Dollar General, a Dollar Tree. You can shop around, you can grab stuff. So your shopping is under control as well. So also, as far as hospitals, there's Choctaw Memorial Hospital right there in Hugo, so you don't have far to go. Should something happen, they do accept Medicare. There's an emergency room open 24 hours. So I feel like in that aspect, Hugo is winning. Now keep in mind, Paris is only about 10 minutes away, if that. So if there's something bigger you need as far as stores, hospitals, churches, whatever, you always have that option to go to Paris as well. Last but not least, let's talk about jobs, you guys. So honestly, there aren't many things going on in Hugo right now that are hiring. Now, since we do have all these options that I told you about, retail is always an option, whether it's a grocery store, Family Dollar, Dollar Tree. You can always, I'm saying you can always, how do I know? But it would seem to me that these places are hiring, so you do have that option. There's also a lot of agriculture that goes on in this part of the state, so you have that as an option as well, whether you are the farmer and you own the farm or the ranch, or you are employed by someone who does. The ability to work is there. Now keep in mind, poverty is pretty high in this area. Being unemployed is pretty high in this area. So that could be two things. It could be one, there are not a lot of jobs there, and the jobs that are there, you're going to have a lot of competition for. One thing to keep in mind. So honestly, I'm not sure at this point anymore of what there is to do in Hugo. I know when I was there, a lot of outdoor things were super popular, but there were always like the grown folks, like, club or venues that our parents and aunts and uncles would go to. I'm not really for sure about now. But what I do know is that Durant, Oklahoma is not too far from here, and they have a huge and beautiful casino and just kind of resort area. So that is always an option if you visit this part of the state. Alright guys, so let me know what you thought about this video. I'm super interested to know, did you learn something that you did not know about Hugo, Oklahoma? Comment down below, let me know. Also comment, what town should we focus on next? I remember reading a comment a while ago. I don't even know if I can find it now, but it said, oh, I live in Pink, Oklahoma. I bet you'll never feature that as a town. So just a spoiler alert, I am working on Pink, Oklahoma. I haven't started yet, but it's in my head because ever since you made that comment, it has been like a challenge to myself. I'm making a video about Pink, Oklahoma, one way or another. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, friends.